A good evening to everybody in the session. We are here. It is the 21st of March. It is springtime in Belgium, and we are here for an Irish and a little bit of Scotch whiskey tasting. I won't do this introduction for too long. You all know who Murg is. You all know how this goes. So let's just go straight into the whiskeys. And I have to introduce our speaker for today. Which brings me to the first little point of question, difficult question. Mr. O'Connell, how do I pronounce your first name?
It's Daithi.
Daithi.
Yes.
Daithi O'Connell, W.D. O'Connell, Irish whiskey merchants. Tell us about yourself. What are we doing here? And maybe what's the first whiskey we're going to taste?
So straight away, let's get the 10-year grain into your glass, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll pour some ourselves as well.
Yeah, of course. Not too much, of course. We're professionals. Yeah, so Jurgen Vromans from the Whiskey Mercenary, who imports W.D. O'Connell whiskies in Belgium, is here too. He's off screen because we do want to keep it a little bit of fun. Yeah. But there you go. This is the single grain.
Yeah, so single grain is a 48% ABV grain whiskey from Ireland. It's column distilled. It's made of 95% maize, 5% malted barley to get the fermentation going. And it comes from Cooley Distillery. I'm sure most people are familiar with Cooley. It's made of 10 and 12-year-old grain. So the 12-year-old is kept in ex-American rye whiskey barrels and the 10-year-old ex-bourbon. And then I marry a percentage of the rye cask in with the bourbon, then pre-bottling and pre-cutting, and bring it down to 48%. And it's non-chill filtered, no added color in any of our whiskeys. You can take that as standard. We want to say that every time.
Yeah.
And it's a real nice, easy drinker, very flexible for mixers or for cocktails, neat over ice.
As we were saying before we started, we have a lineup of 8 whiskeys, so there has to be one that starts. Yeah, and it's usually the grain.
It is, unfortunately, for the grain, because it is. Yeah. It's a really nice whiskey. Very proud of it, because we were the first to use rye cask with grain whiskies in Ireland, and it got great results. And I think grain is a nice category that we can kind of look towards working with in the future, especially as age statement single malts are going to be really in short supply for the next 20 years, to be honest. So I think grain can kind of fill a bit of that gap. And if people don't focus on the term grain and just focus on the term whiskey,
on the term flavor
and flavors,
what's in your glass,
I think it'll get really interesting, because there is a lot of, grain whiskey is the largest produced whiskey in any country, really. There's an abundance of it available. So, my focus is to buy 10-year-old plus whiskey that's grain and lay that down. That's what we're doing. So, we'll have age statement grains coming in 15 and
in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, I think another year will be 15. So we'll see how it goes. And I'm trying to get my hands on some older stuff as well. But eventually it'll get there, and I think it'll be quite interesting, and it'll be interesting from a price point too. It'll actually be affordable, for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays that's a big thing, because whiskey is getting so expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's really interesting. You get all what you're expecting in a bourbon cask grain in terms of the vanillas and the honeys and caramels. And then the rye was added, and the whole idea behind it was, I was thinking of how peated malt is used to add to blends or to other malts to give it a bit more length and a bit more depth.
Like pepper and salt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I just applied that with rye because I thought rye would do that. And it did it really well, I think.
Yeah.
So sláinte.
As Jurgen says in the chat, leave some of the grain in your glass if you can, and then in a couple whiskeys time we'll have the bill fill, and it's a nice combination to have those two together. So there you go.
Yeah, and if you have a bit of ice at home, drop a bit of ice into it either at the end as well.
Oh, we've already lost half of the people here because we said add ice to your whiskey.
I said, well, it's grain, it's not malt.
Yeah.
So it's because it's made of 95% maize corn, it's going to open up.
Yeah.
really nicely, and all the sweetness will come flooding to the front. It's really interesting to see how it changes it immediately. Don't add water. It's a different experience if you add water. So
yeah, maybe for later on, if you have the higher ABV malts, some water might be interesting. But because you didn't really start with talking about the company or the main philosophy of what WD O'Connell does. But is that one of the points, like just saying straight out, add some ice to this? Is that some? Yeah,
like it's drink it how you like it, really. We've done a few videos and things like that where we've done smoky cokies and highballs and things and said, ultimately, if anyone can enjoy whiskey, and it doesn't have to be neat in a Glencairn. Like, just you can enjoy the flavor profile in cocktails, etc. I'm sure a lot of people here would happily enjoy an old fashioned or a whiskey sour. So what's the difference adding a bit of ice to it? It doesn't really make a difference. It's up to yourself. Definitely, we're not about whiskey snobbery. I definitely care about my whiskey. For sure. Very passionate about it, but I certainly would be telling people how they can drink it. It's kind of, that's up to them. And if we want to have more people in whiskey and get more younger people involved and women involved, then we need to be more open. And I guess there's an air of associated stuffiness around whiskey and old men. And
armchairs,
graying old men,
and fireplaces, and angels. No, not angels.
So that's
probably with beards.
Yeah,
probably with beards and tartan or check or as we're surrounded by it on the carpet here. No, and I definitely don't represent that. That's not what we're trying to do. So take the whiskey seriously, but not beyond telling people what to do or speaking down to them about how to enjoy things or what kind of whiskeys they should enjoy or etc.
I sometimes have the feeling that there's too much respect for whiskey sometimes.
I'd agree.
I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, basically. I think so. Yeah. Sometimes you can just sit down and enjoy it. You don't have to. And again, you don't have to. It's up if what you enjoy is breaking down and analyzing whiskey, great. But sometimes you can just pour a whiskey into a glass, sit down and throw a Spartan grapefruit into it and some ice or
have some fun.
Just explore, see what works.
Would you say that is the most important thing that differentiates you as a company from other companies?
No, I wouldn't say that's the most important. I say it's one aspect. I guess ultimately we're an independent bottler and bonder, and with transparency at the core of everything, and that started with our design. I think if you look at all their labels, it's very straightforward. They look like there's not much fuss. There's actually a lot of detail in them, but I wanted the label to be almost like a contract. So that's when somebody picks it up, if they pick up a WD O'Connell bottling, exactly what they need is on the label front and back, and there's no bullshit. There's no panic whackery or
single grain Irish whiskey, distilled at Cooler Distillery, matured, this and that cask.
And
there you go.
And I see it as a contract between me and the consumer, and saying, if you see my label, you can trust what we're going to give you is a very high quality standard. And then we've applied that. Then that's the ethos of the company: honesty, integrity, transparency. And we as you just touched on, we were the first to name the distilleries that we work with on the labels. In Scotland, it's just commonplace, but in Ireland, it wasn't and still isn't really. People.
Why is that, do you think?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's paranoia or something. I often say, like, I had a phone call one day from a guy giving out to me because when I launched, he's like, "Why did you name the distillery on the back? Now everyone knows where to get the whiskey." And I was like, "Yeah, like it generally comes from a distillery."
So. Yeah.
So that kind of thing, and it's not required. I think there is an element of paranoia, and I've never been asked to sign an NDA. I hear people saying they have NDAs, but I've never had to sign one or never been asked to sign one, and nor would I.
I think a distillery would be proud to be.
Well, they should be. I'm putting my name all over the bottle and saying I put their whiskey into it. So like
and they're getting more visible. Yeah, of course. As you said, I mean, if people like this, they might go out and look for more coulis.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Or where they might recognize another brand or whatever and say, oh yeah, they're using that product or whatever. So that's a good thing, and I think we've seen that with the bill fill, like, it kind of started off when we launched it, a bit of a wave of people going, oh, this is really good. And their production levels had to go way up to keep with demand, because G&D distilled it as a blending based product and nothing else initially. So I think it's definitely a good thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you also don't have distilleries that don't want you to mention them on the label.
No, I haven't had. Nobody has ever said that. We have other distillery stocks, we just haven't brought them out yet.
Yeah.
Like the Lockendal we did, you'll see later how that label is different and how the approach in Scotland was different, and even dealing with them was so different on it. And I think that's what separates us. And then I think then it's that, I'm controlling all the process now. When we started first, I was a desktop bottler, and I was still very much in charge of all the liquid, the selection, the cask selection, ABV selection, everything else. But I had to outsource to get people to do the things for me, whether it was bottling or to empty the whiskey and refill into a barrel or whatever.
Just because you didn't have the machinery and the
facilities, or the license to do it. So now we have, and we've got an amazing facility that's in its infancy as well. We have 1,000 square meters of maturation space and blending line tanks and bottling lines, and space for further growth, space for consumer focused visitor experience, and there's a lot of development that can happen there, and that's really exciting. And I think we're very open to showing people that it's not Harry Potter and Hogwarts. It's
just hard work.
It's food production, really. It's a drink. It's production, and it's just combining flavors. Like I say, it's like cooking a lot.
Yeah,
you're just trying to find flavors that suit together, not that contrast. And I definitely don't do cask maturation just for the novelty of it. I'm not really into that side of the things. I'm not into the novelty whiskies. So maybe I'm a bit of a snob after all.
Okay, let's just finish the session here. Then he acknowledged that he's a snob. Listen, guys, we have 8 whiskeys to go through, so I have to keep an eye on timing too, because otherwise we'll be here till midnight. But let's go to the next one, which is the
PX cask Tomashin
PX cask. All right. And of course, as Jürgen said, if you have any tasting notes, please add them to the chat so we can see them and we can just talk about them. And always interesting, I think, also for you to hear what people think about the whiskeys, because what you wanted to do, what came out of the bottle, but sometimes it must surprise you what people think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's funny you say that, because today I was doing a tasting for a shop, and I kind of went in and had a look around the shop, and it was like a lot of very nice whiskeys in there, and I was going, right, okay. We had all of these whiskeys, and well, not all of them, most of them. And I was there, I don't even know if I'll bother with the grain. And did the grain. I did the grain anyway, and then I did the bill fill. And then I heard the most surprising thing I've ever heard. I was like, oh, I prefer the grain. And that's not insulting. They're both my whiskeys, so they're like my children. I love them all equally. So it was nice.
You don't have any favorites?
No, not yet. I have a favorite son and a favorite daughter.
Yeah.
So that was kind of refreshing to hear, because that surprised me. Generally, if people like peated malt, they're going to pick the bill fill over. Like, it is a more complex whiskey, there's no doubt. There's a lot more going on in it for me as well, like for me personally. So I couldn't say you could choose one over the other, because they're different styles for different moods you're in, for what different
moments, different context. Yeah.
But it was interesting to see that. Yeah, I didn't expect that. And sometimes you get weird tasting notes. I think that's kind of a given any time, because people come from all different backgrounds, different food types that they were eating, and different experiences, and it all makes a difference. Like tasting notes are very personal. So that's why I don't generally
I often think that tasting notes tell you more about the person that wrote them than about the whiskey.
Yeah, they can do. Yeah, for sure. Initially, in my early releases, I used to put tasting notes on the back of every bottle, and we've gone away from doing it because what I do is I'd have my own tasting notes, and then I give them to three others, and I get their tasting, and they always come back with different ones. And anything that I hadn't picked up, I would try and include some of theirs because it just gave us a better range of what people might expect to get in there. Because I highly doubt anybody's going to just get exactly what I got.
Oh, yeah. Impossible.
But yeah, we just got away from that, and I've just moved away from it completely, and I've just not done tasting notes at all, really. Now at this point,
yeah, people can taste for themselves.
Yeah,
it's better.
Yeah.
So tell us about Thomasine. What is the story about this?
So Thomasine is it's Gaelic word. It's Thomas, basically, with like little Thomas or small Thomas.
Okay,
like a
little Tommy.
Kid. Yeah. So where we're based in County Waterford is a place called Kilmacthomas, but in Irish it's Cuil Vic Thomasine, which means the wood of Thomas, little Thomas's wood, I suppose.
Okay.
So, or forest or something like that. So it's I just decided to call our first pot still we brought out after the area we're in, just for something different. We only had put names on the bill fill before that, and we did from care to here. Everything else is just age statement. So we just said, the Scots get away with doing Scots Gaelic all the time, and no problem. And in Ireland, there's a bit of a kind of a fear to do it almost, that people can't pronounce them. I go, like, nobody can pronounce most of the ones in Scotland anyway. So either it still works for them. Okay. So I just said I just apply it, and I think it's part of our heritage, and our language is part of our heritage, and it's kind of getting forgotten, and it's a bit of a shame as well.
Are the Irish more shy than the Scots?
I don't think they're shy.
No. I mean,
I would say I'd say
timid, or
well, when it comes to the language, it's very much lack of confidence in people not understanding it.
Yeah,
being afraid of that. And I guess also maybe there's a bit of we can't compete with them now. They've already done all that. Like because there's a lot of similarities. It's the same language essentially, slight variation. We gave them whiskey, and then we gave them our language as well. So like, what more do they want from us? But yeah, no, that's all it was, and it's a pot still whiskey. So it's traditional, quintessential style of Irish whiskey with an Irish name, and yeah.
So
that's where it came from.
Just quickly, what is pot still again?
So pot still whiskey is a whiskey that's made from a mixed mashes of malted barley, unmalted barley as well, plus up to 5% other grains. That's if you want a GI technical Irish whiskey. That's pot still. You can put in, as much as you want other grains if you want. You just can't call it pot still Irish whiskey. But there's a whole other discussion going on in the background with the technical file and the Department of Agriculture and things about expanding that, because 5% other grains from the mixed mash whiskies didn't really reflect historical mash bills. So that's going on in the background. So that's something, it's interesting, and it's something that's quite emotive in the industry for people, small producers mainly, more so than the larger ones. But I think we have agreement across the industry now that it needs to get changed as well. The technical file was probably rushed in back in 2014, just before the boom started or was about to start, and it probably didn't get the attention it deserved at the time. So I think it'll get rectified. I think most people, common sense might prevail on that front. So yeah, this one in particular has just malted and unmalted barley. It's 68% malted barley and 32% unmalted. So generally the unmalted is harder to work with, and as a result, it requires more time as well to mature.
Yeah.
So this is a 2016 malt, our single pot. It's 6 years old when it was bottled. So very much a work in progress, a standalone on it. It's a really good product on its own, but it's just to show what we're doing with our pot still. So we did a P cask one when it was 5. Did the PS cask. You're gonna have a bourbon cask one next, and what we're using is the bourbon cask, and then we're using all our refills. So anything that's a second fill, whether it's peat or rye or PX, we're reusing them in pot still. And what that will allow us is to create a more unique flavor profile when we do go to do batch whiskey, because we're using our library of whiskies, our library of X barrels that other people just won't be able to recreate.
Yeah.
Which will, because we kind of have to think like that, because there's a lot of people using the same spirit. So how can we differentiate ours? So that's one of the ways we're doing it.
I see on the bottle, limited to 120 bottles. That's quite a small turnout.
Yeah, it was only part of a cask.
Yeah.
The rest of that cask was actually sold to our cask share members. And that'll get bottled in June. September of this year. So when it'll be 7. Yeah.
It's sold out.
Oh yeah.
Jürgen is saying it's sold out, so you're too late if you like this.
Yeah, there are some cash shares available still on our website.
There you go. There you go.
So the cash share is a program where we allow people just to buy a share.
Yeah.
One share equals one bottle, and every bottle is 500 mils and cask strength. And then there's a range of different styles of whiskey there. And we're doing one a year for 10 years. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. We did a rum cask one last year, a 20-year-old rum cask. And some really nice whiskeys in there. Lots of different pot still whiskeys, which is nice to see. And from different distilleries as well. And then we've got a Milton Duff from Scotland, and got a grain whiskey that that's going to be 15 when it's bottled. Yeah. So and we kind of give you the estimated bottling date and month.
Yeah. So you can follow up on
and all you have to do then at the end then is you just pay the duty, the taxes that are owed, and shipping costs if you need the shipment. That's it.
Yeah. There's a question from Tom. Tomashin is also GND.
Yes, yeah.
What is GND?
Great Northern Distillery.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, GND is the short, the acronym we use for it. Yeah. It's 2016 GND. Yeah.
Okay.
So earlier I was saying the mash bill, and this was 68-32. 2016 was the only year they actually used that particular mash bill. In 2017 they moved to 50-50. So so it's quite interesting. There's a very small amount of that style, that particular mash bill out there in the market. So it'll be interesting to see. You'll be able to see the differences as you're not just with O'Connell whiskey, but I'm sure with other people, you can kind of, if you know that, you can kind of see that you'll be able to tell the differences.
And this was made for you, or did you buy the cask afterwards, or how?
No, I bought the casks of that 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So before it was.
So it was in the bourbon cask,
and then it was in bourbon, and then this one was after 3 years in the bourbon. I emptied, I think, the PX 18 that I had, and I refilled.
Okay.
That particular one into that PX 18 cask, because it was a refill PX. That's how that happened. And the next one that we're going to have now is
the other Tomashin.
Yeah, which is the bourbon cask, which is the same distillate, the same year, but has just been in one cask type, first fill bourbon. Are people enjoying these? Has anyone had these whiskies for the first time? The grain,
there is some chat going on, but I think they need to reach the third or the fourth whiskey before they really start chatting.
They're all quiet, are they?
Yeah, they're pretty quiet. Yeah, I'll let you pour it yourself.
Yeah,
They are interested.
They are interested in listing, probably. Yeah.
So this one is a higher ABV. The last one was 47. This one's, I think, and this one's up at
50.9,
50.9, nearly 51. Limited to 210 bottles. As I said, first fill bourbon. And having this one now, the other one was a nice, easy drinker. This one has a bit more punch to it, a bit more. It's a bit more aggressive. It's what you'd expect traditional pots of whiskey to be like.
The greenness of the unmalted barley comes through more.
Yeah, it's providing us with this creaminess and this spiciness, and the viscousness that you're going to experience with this. Like there's all lovely fresh notes in this, and really buttery feel. I really enjoy this a lot now.
Yeah.
Some people responding to the PX Tomashin.
Yeah. So Kevin is saying, I like the PX, sweet and light, slightly bitter finish. And Tom is surprised by the Tomashin. Tastes quite Scotch-like, less Irish pot still, very floral, less spicy.
Scotch-like. You mean malt-like?
Malt-like. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
It's a bit more refined, I think, because I think it'd be interesting to hear what Tom thinks now of the bourbon cask.
Yeah.
Which is not malt-like in any way, shape, or form, I think.
I now understand why you put them in this order, because we were talking about the order, and I thought like, oh, pigs before a full bourbon maturation. That's quite strange. Normally you would go other way, because pigs gives a lot of. Jürgen is motioning like crazy.
Yes.
But
I
kind of understand now why you're doing this.
Yeah, it was actually Jürgen's idea today, because I was doing a taste today and I did it the other way.
Okay.
I said, this is what it is before it was.
Yeah.
And I can see then that it actually works, I think, a bit better this way. So it was, yes, Jürgen, well
done.
Master of the lineup.
He's not even in the picture and he's still present. So
yeah.
No, but I do understand, because as you said, I think the pigs kind of balanced it off, made it sweeter and easier.
It's more approachable.
More approachable. Yeah. So, and also the ABV, like you said, it's slightly higher.
This is more pots. It was actual pots.
You can smell the greenness of it. Like it's a very different.
Is pot still whiskey a style of whiskey that was a little bit gone and coming back the last few years?
Well, like essentially you only had one distillery distilling it up till 2014, which is Middleton. So your red breasts is pot still, green spot, yellow spot, red spot, blue spot. They're all your Barry Crockett legacy. That's pot still. Middleton Rare would have an element of pot still in it, mainly pot still, I think, to be honest. But I can't be sure. They don't really disclose. But yeah, so they're all your pot stills. They're all coming from Middleton. And again, they would use a bit of column distillation in there too. I think they get the faints and put them back through the column and back in then at the start again. So they always end up going through the pots again. But I think it's in the technical file. It's above my kind of knowledge level. But essentially it was almost gone. But it would have been at one time the largest produced and sold whiskey in the world.
Yeah. But we're talking 100 years ago.
Yeah, you're talking, mid to late 1800s. It would have been at its peak, at the zenith, and then obviously there's a whole host of things that started to go wrong one after the other.
Yeah,
and then the industry imploded on itself really, and almost went extinct. If it hadn't been for those three distilleries combining, leaving Bushmills out of the equation up north. The Cork Distillers Powers Whiskey Company and the Jamesons, John Jameson's, combining and moving down to build a new plant, state-of-the-art plant in Middleton. It was great they did that, but ultimately, I think it's an interesting thing. And we were talking about this at Provine. A few of us were together, different industry folk, and we were saying, the Scotch industry is built on blends, but they don't talk about it. It's not
sexy blends.
No, they don't talk about that. It's people, the single malt is what they put everything into, but it's all built on blends. But even people who drink malt, some people who drink malt don't know that. I'm sure the audience tonight is quite knowledgeable, but Ireland is, it's built on blends, and they just talk about the blends, and that's what we need to try and change now. Because they put us into this box to save themselves. Which as a result, by default, saved the industry. And this is just my opinion, by the way. But now we have to try and get out of that box. And it's really hard when you're small to get out of that box. We need a ladder or something. It's a challenge, but I think the product, the industry is really exciting. There's so many passionate people in there. There's some amazing facilities that are being built. There's some big ones, some small ones, people doing some weird and wonderful things, and
I also think that maybe just the time is right for this kind of stuff, because you see pot still coming back, you see rye whiskey coming back, you see more and more of those old style whiskeys. There's more people interested and looking for those.
Because there's more flavors. There's more flavors.
Flavor and authenticity is also a thing. Sure, like the story about this was how it was made 100 years ago, and how it was, which was, like you said, once was the biggest selling whiskey in the world, and it's gone, and now people are looking again for that sort of flavor, I think.
Yeah, no, they are. They want people's palates have developed with the globalization, the global village we live in now, and all the intercountry migration and all the different food types that are available everywhere, all the different drinks that are being exposed to their palates and evolved. I use coffee really as one to talk about. We go back to like Ireland is a coffee mad country now. Crazy. When I was a kid, I'm 43 now. When I was a kid, there was two types of coffee in Ireland. They were both instant. It was Maxwell House and Nescafe Gold Blend. And that was it, like. And people were making it with the hot water and putting sugar in it and pouring milk in it. And it was awful shit, really, like when you think about it. But at the time, they were drinking bucket loads of it. And if you think of the coffee that people are consuming today, it is.
There's a coffee house
intensive
on every corner of the street,
and they're paying through the nose for it. They want that experience. They want those flavors, and that's palates develop, and that's all that's happening, really.
Yeah. And it opens up some space for like maybe the more difficult tastes,
for
flavors
sure,
like this spot still, like the one we're having right now.
Yeah, they want to challenge themselves, for sure. I think, definitely.
And also to differentiate themselves from maybe their peers that are also looking that.
Absolutely.
I've had something special, extreme, interesting.
And also, people have more spare money. They've got some excess money and they want to treat themselves as you get older.
Touch wood, it stays that way.
So like, it's interesting because when you're a student or whatever, you're looking for your buy one get one free deal, or you're bringing your hip flask into the nightclub or whatever it is. Anything that's cheap and free and volume. You're after volume. You know? And now
it's 60% ABV. That's good.
And now you're after 60% ABV in a liter bottle. And now people are after quality.
Yes,
with less of that volume in terms of the size of the product, and that's and there's more responsible drinking. People are drinking less. In a lot of the countries,
less but better,
and that's a good thing. That's certainly a good thing. I think.
Chris is saying, love it. This one is more powerful ABV, nose taste than the traditional Irish pot stills. He says so.
Well, what's unusual about this one is it's straight bourbon cask. You don't get to try those. Because all the ones I mentioned earlier and all the other ones are in the marketplace. They're all a marriage of multiple cask types of Oloroso and PX and and bourbon. Most of them, to be honest, are all kind of the same. Where you have some of the wine cask influences. So this is something different and unique. The fact that it's a bourbon cask is unique is so strange. I find it so bizarre, but that seems to be how the industry has developed in Scotland and. The world over, people are looking for fortified wines and different cask finishes more, which again is not a bad thing because again it opens up a lot of whiskey that makes it more approachable for people to drink, and they can always get back to the bourbon cask again. So I agree. But I'm a huge bourbon cask fan. You probably will see that across the range of whiskies I've done to date, and that there's a big. I've done some PX series, but if you looked at the case numbers or the cask numbers versus what's straight bourbon or the rye, which is very much a first cousin of bourbon, it would far outnumber the rest of them.
Yeah. Now, Jürgen has a question or something to say.
Something that Tom stated is the relationship between the two Tom machines. Is he experiences some floral notes that he can find in both of the whiskeys.
Floral notes, I don't know if everybody heard Jürgen because our microphone is here and Jürgen is over there. So some floral notes that kind of link the two Tomashi. It's good that you're taking the next bottle because I was making the bridge for this one. If you look at your website. You talk about yourself as a company, as an adventurous company. And I think putting a peated whiskey in the middle of a lineup is also just a slight hint of adventure, right?
There's no hard and fast rules, guys. So we talked through it. It was interesting to talk through. To do an eight bottle lineup is a large tasting.
Yeah.
So it
So
gave
it's,
us,
guys, it's Bill Phil that we're trying now. So
it gave us
so you
a,
know.
gave us a challenge. So kind of, I felt this was the best kind of way to do it, because we've got some pretty high ABV ones to go.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is, after this, we're going from 54 up to 63.
So the work almost starts. That's
This is, yeah, the first
These are
half.
just a starter.
They were,
Yeah.
yeah, they were definitely the starters. I think not a bad way to start though. Yeah, so this is the Bill Phil. Probably a lot of the people will have heard of it or tried it already. So, it's a triple distilled peated malt. It's called after my great grandfather, who was William Philip O'Connell, and he was known locally as Bill Phil, because there was so many different O'Connells in the area back in the 1800s, 1850 around, that weren't related. So it was like, okay, well, they'll be the Bill Phil O'Connells, because he had moved into the area from another area.
sometimes life is simple.
Yeah, well, it certainly was simpler for sure. And then everyone after that became known as the Bill Phil, you know, as a Bill Phil. So my granddad was Jackie Bill Phil, my dad is Billy Bill Phil. I'm a Bill Phil. My kids are now Bill Phils. So that's how it works. And when we go back down there, we're still known as Bill Phils. And they were blacksmiths and merchant storekeepers and farmers. And as a blacksmith, they were creating tools. And one of the tools they made was a schlon, or a tool for cutting or footing turf or peat out of the ground, which we would have been burning in our homes in Ireland for centuries. And
Is it like a long and
long, and it has a side on it, so like that.
yeah, like a spade, but
Yeah,
very
it's like
long,
exactly.
yeah.
It's like a spade with a side on it, and it has a very long thing on it, like a long
and narrow.
narrow.
And,
Yeah. I actually must get a picture. I have one at home. I must get a picture and put it up on the Friends Off page or something. And then when they wear out, they would use it then for using the spade. They call it a spade then when it wear out, and they'd use it for turning the sods in the potato drills. So the tave fods, they call them in Irish. So yeah, it became known as the Bill Phil Schlon, and people used to come and try. You know, this was long before Amazon and everything. So they were quite famous for it.
Did he trademark it?
No, well, I trademarked Bill Phil.
Okay.
And I just said, you know what, it kind of fits with the style of whiskey. And I kind of, you know, I admired them a lot, that generation of my grandfather. I knew him well. Like I grew up with him and got to see him, you know, in action as a blacksmith and a craftsman.
Wow, that's cool.
You know, yeah, and he was a really nice guy, and I just thought it's a nice kind of.
Was he a whiskey drinker?
Oh yeah, he drank Powers.
Powers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Powers. Yeah. So.
But no, because that's also what's special about this one, I think, is the triple distilled PT whiskey.
Yeah, so it's a heavily peated malt, but it's triple distilled. So as a result, you're going to lose some of those phenols on the third distillation. You get a higher ester count, going to give us more fruity notes that people would say, oh, Irish whiskey, Irish single malt is always fruity, but like they're really talking about Bushmills, because they were the only people actually making it. So yeah, that's the irony of that. So it is true in this case, and as a result, it's just more balance to it. The smoke doesn't get to dominate; it intermingles with all these lovely fruit flavors or citrus fruits. For me, I'm getting lots of citrus fruits on this one, and we only age it in one barrel type from the US, from one distillery, to keep that flavor profile. And anything we pick up that might have something else, we keep separately or rebarrel it something else.
Oh, you use it for other bottlings. Yeah. Okay. Is there an age to this?
No, it's not a statement, but it's made up of average 5-year-old whiskey.
5-year-old whiskey.
Yeah, 4 to 6.
Yeah. And again, Great Northern Distillery.
Yeah.
This is batch number 6.
And it's maybe important to tell you all, it's batch number 6, bottle 0616, but batch number 6 because
6 was 1,200 bottles. Yeah,
1,200 bottles.
Yeah,
Is there
small?
Lots of differences between the different batches?
There are some subtle differences for sure. I think they're small. The biggest difference probably was from batch 1 to batch 2, and then from batch 3 on. Then it was more. It was my first batches, so I had no experience really.
Yeah, okay.
But batch two, like they were both great, but there probably was the biggest variation there if anyone had to try them. But since then it's been quite similar. But I think, yeah, we're kind of hoping to move the whole, I've said it from day one, is that I want to kind of move to an annual release point at some point.
Yeah.
So more akin to a vineyard rather than batches.
A vintage, like
yeah, and it'll just be
Bill
Bill 2024
2024,
or whatever it is. And yeah.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just easier to keep track of them and you don't have to have batch 42, you know, when it comes.
Yeah. Sounds strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris is saying this one is my favorite companion for oysters.
Yeah, I don't like oysters, Chris. So
Okay.
I'm not.
I do like oysters.
I like them.
See what he's saying.
I like if they're baked, but raw oysters.
Gratin or something.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Raw oysters. I think it's the texture. I do not like the texture.
Yeah, okay, I can understand.
Yeah.
I love
The flavor. I don't mind. It's the texture. Yeah, it's a weird one. So
Okay.
Citric notes and peat whiskey.
Yeah, Jürgen is quoting recipes now for oysters with citrusy notes. And yeah.
Well, yeah, this I
really
like,
nice stuff, man.
I love this whiskey. And is it your first time having it? No.
No, I've had it
Yeah.
before, but
Yeah.
it's really nice.
We've done a couple of cast strength versions too, but not for a while now. So we're hoping to maybe rectify that again this year. They've been very popular.
So this is 1,200 bottles, so 5 casks, something like 4 or 5 casks.
Oh, you have me there. I can't
Bourbon
remember.
barrels, something like must be something like that.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, maybe 4.5 or something. Who knows?
And this is the current batch 6.
It's the current batch. Yeah,
Okay.
batch 7 will be bottles up at some point in April or May, probably, or maybe even, I'm not sure. Maybe even later in the summer. It'll be our first big. I think it'll be like 2,000 bottles. Our first big batch.
No.
So when you see small batch in our labels, it is actually small batch.
Yeah.
It's not 30,000 bottles for a global travel retailer.
Just something I'm wondering about now. So this is Great Northern Distillery. Do they actually have bottlings of their own right now?
No,
Great
they don't
Northern?
do. No.
So you're actually kind of putting them in the market for the first time,
Well, yeah, me and a lot of other
and a
people.
lot of other bottlers. But
But
you're
and brands.
you put it on the label. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
difference. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a supply contract distillery. They have no brands,
yeah.
and they don't have any intention to bring brands of their own out. So it's a very specific model.
Mhm.
Huge expansion there at the moment as well. And you know, I think there's a lot of new fermenters gone in and new stills, and I think there's talk of it going up to like 40 million LPA or something like that in terms of now a lot of that would be grain whiskey as well. So
Yeah.
you know, for their products, but
Still no one knows.
The
Yeah.
biggest distillery no one knows.
yeah, well, I don't think
No
it's
one
as big as Middleton yet, but
No.
Yeah.
No one knows.
yeah.
Maybe that's the good moment to talk about. There's a big boom in Irish whiskey. There's lots of new distilleries popping up all over Ireland. How do you look at that? Because you barely can follow the distilleries that are popping up.
We had a good chat about this in the car today, Jürgen, driving around. So Jürgen's gonna be very bored for the next few minutes. So yeah, no, it's really exciting. Like I'm very positive in Irish whiskey. Like of course I am. I'm knee deep in it, but there's a lot of exciting distilleries out there. I think I mentioned that earlier, and people doing really exciting things. And there's two, like I don't want to name check too many, but because I don't feel like if I'm leaving you out, they're not that I'd be listening, I'm sure, but you know, you've Sheave League up in Donegal, which is it's Ardara distillery, and that's doing nothing but peated malt, peated pot still. That's it. You've got guys like Brendan Carty over in Cologne who has direct fire stills. Michael Boyle up in Waylock direct fire stills. They're doing a couple of barrels a week, and they're doing really, malt, smoking their own malt in their own barley and peating their own barley and doing some wild things with yeast and massive fermentation times and open top fermentation, natural fermentation out in the wilds, and like you have Blackwater down in County Waterford near us. You've obviously got Waterford doing their own thing. So many Dingle. There's huge,
really small ones, right?
lots of that's the thing. There's about 40 distilleries now. I think about 18 or 19 have 3-year-old, only 18 or 19 have 3-year-old whiskey.
Mhm.
So you're going to see a big jump in 5 years, there'll be 40 odd with 3-year-old whiskey.
Yeah.
Plus, which is a big jump, but there's a lot of small ones, doing small volumes, really. So, and then there's a handful of medium-sized ones, and then there's a couple of really, really big ones. So I still think there's kind of room for a few more.
I was just going to ask you, is there room for all of them?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think being small is very much a challenge. Like being too big has its own issues, but being very small must have its own challenges in terms of how can you make it commercially viable. You're probably going to be buying in, other products and doing gins and things like that. So, it's certainly a challenge, but getting route to markets, a challenge. Like there are easier ways to make money, I'm sure. And you have to work at it. So it's not just there's a boom in Irish whiskey, right? But like we have to remember who's driving that boom, and that's Jameson brand.
Oh yeah.
Middleton, Redbreast, and their ranges. So like while the Teelings of the world and Dingles and they're doing really, really great things and big numbers, ultimately Jameson are propping up those numbers.
That's the brand that everybody knows, of course.
So we have to be conscious of that, like, as well, and understand that just because they're seeing big numbers and growth doesn't mean you start a whiskey brand and it's just going to jump off the shelf.
I sometimes think that it's an advantage to keep small, because there's sometimes a tipping point between you have to grow, but then all sorts of stuff starts to change in your production, but also your sales. And so
there's challenges for sure. And it's we could probably do with hiring somebody else to help us, but probably can't afford to pay them because myself and Tom, who works with me, haven't got paid. So
well,
so it's kind of like, well,
I think that's that tipping point.
We have to probably get another year of the two of us just working ourselves to the bone and to get to that point, and then
you can
to do that. But like, don't get me wrong, it's all very positive. Like we're seeing some nice growth, and we're growing nice markets and working with good people like Jürgen. And if we continue to do that, and we'll start introducing new products now, because we've got whiskey that we bought at much younger ages and prices that are now hitting 5, 6, 7, that we can start releasing at larger volumes at smaller price points, and that helps. And then we're also bottling now for third parties, so that eases our cash flow issues as well. We don't have to focus just on. We're not then pushed to bring out too much whiskey that maybe we're not happy with. Because that's definitely what I don't want to do.
Keep true to your philosophy, of course. But I think let's not forget that you're still a very young company. I mean, you started out 2019.
April 2019 I started the company.
4 years ago. I mean, that's quite impressive to be where you are now.
You kind of you can beat yourself up sometimes and go, oh, we should be doing more and this, and it's like ultimately what we've achieved in that time is really, really good. I'm very proud of it, and it's been hard work. Like, that's I say to people all the time, it's a hustle. Like, I hustle and I hustle hard. So and you have to, and hopefully it'll pay off.
I mean, in whiskey you always need time.
Absolutely.
So
lots of time, and it goes by pretty quick, I'll tell you. I don't know, like, it seems like yesterday we started. So when you think about some of the stuff we bought, you're like, oh yeah, I remember buying that when it was 2.5 and now it's 7. Or it's I remember when I'm buying it when it was 16 and now it's going to be 21. Like, it's that's kind of how it is.
Let's go on to the next whiskey, which is a Belgium exclusive. I think the From Clare to Here, which was bottled last year, I think, for Jürgen.
Initially, it wasn't for me.
No.
We will explain.
So From Clare to Here, I bottled it initially as a US exclusive.
Oh yeah, I know that story.
It was supposed to go to California, and we had done a big tasting event over there, and COVID was at its height, I guess, and shipping costs were at their height. And we just decided, you know what? I had brought a bottle. I'd actually been over here around this time last year. I brought a bottle just to see what people thought of it, because nobody had tried it. I don't run consumer focus groups or anything. I just
Oh, you don't?
no. I'm an autocrat when it comes to whiskey in the bottle, and it was received very, very well. We did a lot of tastings in a lot of shops, and then we did McShelfie, and everyone was like, "We should definitely get some of this for Belgium." I was like, "Okay, I'll work on a cask," and then I think about a month later, I rang here and I said, "Do you want that one? I'll give it to you now.
Yeah.
If you don't mind that it says US label on the back."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I asked, I could put the 10th anniversary label in front of it, and you told me, if you buy it, you do whatever you want with it.
Absolutely. Like same philosophy as people who buy it to drink it or do whatever they want. So this is a night. Really, I was really thrilled with this whiskey because it's a double distilled malt from G&D again, and it was just shy of 6 years old when it was bottled. And I worked with a friend of mine called Bridger Kelleher in a brewery called Western Herd in County Clare, the west coast of Ireland, and we met during COVID on Twitter. It's funny.
You can't meet anywhere else during COVID.
Yeah, it was, and he was buying my whiskey and I was buying his beer, and everyone was we were all buying lots of stuff we shouldn't have been buying. But I really liked his stout that he was doing. I'm a big Imperial Stout fan, and he had talked about just wanting to get some nice whiskey casks, and because he'd been working with, I think, older, tireder casks, and I said, "Look, I think you need a specific type of cask." I said, "Let's get you a double malt cask that's fresh, not too old." And we just empty it, and I emptied it, and I just literally put all the malt that was in that cask back into other casks from the same batch, topped them back up again, basically, and get him the barrel. Drove it down to him with my daughter, actually, and we filled it with Imperial Stout and got it back a few months later, and I refilled it then with the same malt, double malt again, and it went too far. The stout took over very quickly, which we knew was probably going to happen if we didn't keep an eye on it, but it just went too far. And then had some rum casks come in, and just decided I wanted to get that. The original malt is really fruity, really stone fruit forward. Like, it's delicious. And there's an amazing nose on it. And I just decided that I just wanted to get that sweetness back into it. So rum cask, I said, "Oh yeah, sure, rum and stout. If I was in a pub, I could have a rum and a pint of stout.
Yeah, why not?
They go well together."
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And this was the accident, the happy accident.
Yeah.
It's 54%, 54.54 actually, to be precise. And I think it's a real, like, trying to do tasting notes for this is tough. There's a lot happening.
You need a lot of words.
A lot of words.
Yeah.
Yeah. An Oxford dictionary, maybe.
And if you know what casks it has been in there, you can recognize small bits and pieces of every cask.
It's funny, while you were talking, I suddenly had a hint of Imperial Stout in there.
Right at the back, you get it.
Right at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right in the center of your tongue going down.
Is the beer still available?
No, that was long gone. That sold out really quick.
Too bad.
But we've just done 3 more barrels. So we did a first fill bourbon.
Yeah.
That never had Irish whiskey in it, which was a Buffalo Trace barrel that a friend of mine called John Fleming, who was a shop in Ireland, Carry out Killarney, he did a barrel pick with Buffalo Trace. So he had the barrel, and I was like, "Sure, we'll do it." And I took it and filled it, and then we filled 2 more of the same type of barrel.
Okay.
But it's interesting, there's not much of a difference. Bridger noticed as well in the stouts. So we'll have more of that stout coming. So I said the next time we should try and get some of the stout maybe in cans instead of bottles.
Yeah.
And then we can maybe send some of them into the markets wherever it goes with it.
Yeah, I'm down.
I think it'd be really interesting. So I know Jürgen is down for that. So yeah. So that's the plan. So one of those will be available again.
It would be interesting to taste them next to each other, because I often feel with like beer casks for whiskey that you can taste that a beer cask was used, but not necessarily what type of beer or what beer it was. So. And
it's really great beer. Like it's stout with barrel aged whiskey stout is the stout is really winning. It's going up a notch in ABV and everything. And he makes really good stout. So cool. I think it works well. I'm not a huge beer cask fan for whiskey, you know, I've tried a lot of different ones other people have done, and they wouldn't be for me, you know. So I wouldn't. It's not something I would just do for the sake of it.
No, because often, as I said, often it's just doesn't add enough. I
No.
feel not enough
Or it
uniqueness.
Or it has too much on it, and
Yeah.
you're kind of going, it doesn't taste like whiskey anymore.
But it's the same way around for beers aged on whiskey casks. It's often like, yeah, it's a bourbon cask. Okay, yeah, I can taste some booze, but
yeah, what I liked about Bridger's philosophy is we had the same philosophy when it came to Imperial Stout, because I said I love Imperial Stout, but I don't like when they're at 12, 13, 14. I think 10 is really nice. 9, 10 is really good.
Yeah.
And he had the same. And so we got chatting on Twitter about that, and it was like, right, well, let's do something. So, and that's how it worked. So
I don't think Western Herd is available in Belgium as a beer yet. So
no, so I think
should be.
I think we do that, and yeah, they do some good stuff, and they're out in a little farm out in County Clare.
Will be capable of accepting beer
Yeah.
from all over the world.
Yeah. And I'm getting some put into a small keg. So we're gonna do a little party in the warehouse during the summer. So I want to have some of that there as well. So.
And also next time you're in Belgium, we can have a little party in
Yeah.
Downing Street, where we're not. Yeah, the little venue we're in now is called Downing Street, by the way. So which I thought was kind of ironic.
It is having a fella called Daithi O'Connell here. For sure.
Yeah. Tom is saying it jumps to all sides. It's sweet, it's bitter, it's mineral, it's grassy, and he can't really catch it. And it means that in a positive way.
There's so much going on.
So much going on. Yeah.
In a good, because sometimes you don't like, it doesn't know what it is. That's what I said to you. I think at the start is like, I don't know what it is, and it depends on the time you're drinking it and what you've had to eat. Like it's like all whiskeys, but this one just seems to have so much going on.
I actually was surprised by it a couple of days ago. I mean, I had it a couple of times before. I know the whiskey, but I had the bottle open at home, so I was like, and I came home from another tasting, and I poured some, and I was like, I don't remember it like this.
Every time you taste it there,
It's
completely different
You
again.
discover something different in there.
Yeah.
Which makes it a really fun whiskey.
Yeah.
Quite happy to have
So-
the bulk of it about.
You can keep drinking it, but it's sold out probably.
Yeah, but we are. I am.
But there's more coming.
There's more coming, and maybe I
Yeah.
won't have the rum influence this time and see if I can get. Like, I would like to get the stout one right.
Yeah.
I'll say I did it.
Yeah.
Huge compliments from Kevin.
Kevin is saying, I'm getting a bit of Little Mill vibes. The grassy, dirty taste. That's quite a compliment. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Take that.
Yeah. And Tom is saying Ivo Draps still has some wine for you in Bomhead and so. And Jurgen's Whiskey
Jurgen's
House
Whiskey
too.
House too.
There you
I was
go.
there today. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Go out there, I guess.
Move some of these.
We're going to add some age now.
Yes, we're going up and gonna ramp it up to the next level.
Oh yeah.
Which one? Because we have two 20-year-olds in the lineup.
We have two 20. Yeah, two.
Two 20-year-olds.
Yet.
No.
We've got two 20-year-olds and a 10-year-old left.
So the first one we're having is the rum cask.
Yes, this is 2002 Cooley malt. That was it, rum cask from Hampton Estate for 4 years.
Hamden.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's coming in at 54%, is it? I used to be able to remember these things so easy, but
54%.
I've had so many bottlings now I have to double check myself. Yeah, and age, yes. And again, this was another challenge to myself because I've been left underwhelmed with a lot of rum cask finishes of whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people have, because I've done a few tastes where people have said, yeah, it's just been really disappointing for them. And it's going like, I see that as a challenge. So, but I was kind of very nervous about it because 3 years in, nothing. I was getting not much out of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Bit disappointing, and I was considering re-racking it. And I think just because of COVID, I just didn't get around to it. I was in another warehouse and got the samples back then. And maybe 6 months later, I was saying, oh, it's finally turning. you know, and whiskey, it's not vertical, you know, whiskey maturation is not vertical. So maybe it had a few times and I missed it because I hadn't been able to interact with them enough. So luckily that's one of the advantages now we have been so flexible and agile in the warehouse. But then we had to bottle some of it for the cash share. That's what I was worried about, because basically I'm doing single cask shares and I'm saying it's always going to be cash strength because that's the only way I can kind of keep it at the same level. But my methodology in single cask is, my approach is, well, not all casks need to be cask strength. It's whatever they're optimum at, really. You know, not all casks can be single cask.
Yeah.
So this was throwing that out the window with the cash share. That was the only thing. So I was getting worried about it. And then when it started getting, it was really good. And I said, you know what? Let's just empty the whole cask and we'll bottle the rest of it, put it in a 700 ml, and sell it off instead that way. So that's how this came out. So some people have the cash share and in a 500 ml.
And that's also why it's only 100 bottles.
And that's why it's only 100 bottles.
Yeah. Okay.
So enjoy it.
And it's finished again, Jürgen says so. But again, we have a 20-year-old fully bourbon matured and a 20-year-old on a rum cask, and you put the rum cask first.
Yeah. No. You'll see why in a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a big difference. And again, like you're down at 54 here, the bourbon cask at 58. It's much more robust. This, and you can see they're related, you'll notice. But you are getting the rum on this, and it's lovely, especially right at the end, at the back of the tongue. It's just there to finish, which is where you want it as well, on the nose. Lots of tropical funk in there and fruity flavors and that you'd expect. And that's great. And I was really happy with it. And that's why it went into a bottle, because I was thinking, you know, would I rebarrel it and put it into a quarter cask or something different if I wasn't happy with it? Because I was committed to the cash share, so I had to do that. So we've been keeping an eye on the other ones that we have. So we have more of them, so which is great. So we'll have
it's not really a problem. Not really a problem to have.
Hope it's coming on nicely still. It's progressing, I think, and 21-year-old should be interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see that Uncle Schilde and Chris are saying my favorite so far. So people are liking this. I can imagine why. It's good stuff.
Yeah, are you enjoying it?
Yeah. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, of course. I mean, of course, I'm not really focusing very hard on the whiskeys. I'm talking to you, but this is, I mean, can't deny that this is really good stuff.
It's great, huh?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. I want to ask you something. I was doing some preparation for this talk.
Yeah.
Should I be nervous? Actually, just 10 minutes before you arrived, basically.
They were photoshopped. It wasn't me.
No, I was Googling you, and I read an interview with you, and it said it's safe to say that whiskey merchants of old didn't have previous experience sailing yachts, flying planes in the Middle East, or setting up pubs and financial technology companies in Asia. But there was no real further explanation about that quote. So
that wasn't my quote. That was their
observation. Yeah. Are those all things that you did?
Yeah, there's a bit. I didn't fly planes in the Middle East. I lived in the Middle East, and but I didn't fly planes there. But so I like to do those things. So
you did some stuff before you got into whiskey. Yeah,
I'd say I've had a pretty. I've definitely lived life to as full as I can. Like that's the. I won't. Dust won't settle on me, I'd say. Just since I was a kid, like since I was a teenager, I was mad for work, and I had a wanderlust about me, I guess, that I wanted to go exploring, and I wanted to go exploring much further than Europe, and that I wanted to go to Australia and Asia and South America before I did anything local, as I felt Europe was.
But not to New York.
Not to New York, no. I haven't done a lot in North America, actually. I've done Hawaii and California a few times, and recently then obviously we launched whiskey there, so I've been back to a few other places. But so I went traveling a few times, and I moved to Australia 2000. Actually, when this whiskey was first cast, I had just moved
20 years ago.
Yeah, I had moved to
Actually,
21 years
2003.
ago.
I was in Australia in 2003.
Yeah, I was there for a year. Ended up then in Denmark. Then I ended up back in Ireland running my own pub, and I ended up taking over a nightclub and then a live music venue. And I used to put on some big international acts. So did some great, crazy shows.
So, and why did you come back to Ireland and to whiskey?
Oh, then I left again, went to Australia again, learned to fly. Then I moved to Hong Kong, opened the bar.
Yeah.
Started a payment technology company, merged it with another payments company in the Middle East in Dubai, moved to Dubai, and moved back to Ireland then, because basically my marriage at the time was falling apart because I was traveling and working so much.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately it didn't sustain anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But happily now with someone else and 2 kids, few years later. So it all worked out very well. And the whiskey, I was actually looking at the whiskey from the time in Hong Kong. That was where I had the idea for a distillery first. I'd seen the business plan for Dingle had landed on my desk, looking for investors.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, sure. Like, I was into my whiskey. I really got into Scotch at that point, and spirits in general. Because Hong Kong was a whole other scene, you had a huge international drink scene there. And I was going to a lot of whiskey events and tastings. I was hanging out with guys from Diageo who were running Asia. So they were putting on amazing events for all the bankers and stuff. So I was getting to taste some pretty nice whiskeys. And I was going, Irish whiskey. I used to think Irish whiskey was amazing in Redbreast, Green Spot. And then I was like, God, we have so far to go. And then I thought, when I saw the Dingle business plan, it's like, you know what, if these guys can do it, I could do it. I'd like that. I'd like to own a distillery. So that was how it started. And I kind of had plans fairly advanced for a distillery back in Ireland, down in Killarney and Kerry, where I used to live and work. And we'd 4 sites engaged, and we'd planning office engaged, and we'd architects and site picked, and it's fairly advanced, and we had some money raised towards it. And I just pulled out of it then because of the whole family situation, and which was the right thing to do. I think ultimately it worked out well, because it would have been too much for me at that point. It was a big plant, 1 million LPA off 2 shifts, I think. So it would have been a 1.5 million LPA plant overall. And there's a column in there as well.
Okay.
So it was a separate gin still, and a micro brew house. And it was big. It was big. In a beautiful location. Like, it would have been amazing. I'm glad it didn't. And then I just kept my eye on the industry. I was obviously kept looking at it, and then eventually I just decided life's too short. Let's go in the IB route, because the landscape I felt was changing because of all these new distilleries that were going to be built or were already built. And that's how we ended up there.
And you're staying there now.
I have no choice.
That's right. Because you've done so many things. You're 43 years old. You told us, so you're quite young. I'm 43, so I can say that you're
thank you,
very young still. But kids, yeah. I mean, you seem like the sort of guy that always is looking for adventures.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love it. And like I was telling Jürgen, some of my plans today, they're not there yet. We haven't reached the peak. So, I grow my own barley, contracted. I want to know about that. I picked the barley strain and what we're trying to do. And then I'm talking about mash bills and getting contract distilled. And I want to know about fermentation times and yeast and what the different refluxes and different.
You're nerding out.
Absolutely. I want to know how everything works no matter what I do. So,
okay.
And I do. There is a bit of an engineer in me somewhere. I just pretend it's not there, because I think engineers are so boring generally.
Yes,
my brothers are all engineers, so I can say that.
Any engineers participating, you're all boring.
They are.
They are. Jürgen, you're an accountant, so
Yes,
I'm even more boring. So
Yeah.
I can actually say that.
I just jest, honestly. But yeah, I think I had something I always denied.
yeah. A question from Chris. Are you planning to start your own distillery in the future?
Am I planning to? I wouldn't rule it out.
You wouldn't rule it out. That's yes.
Jurgen's complaining that you all got some of his last bottle.
Yeah. I tricked Jürgen into selling me his last bottle of Lockindal that we're having now. So Lockindal is your next.
Well,
your
if you
next
paid
sample.
for it, then it's not his anymore.
Oh, it's about 4,000 euros I had to pay for this bottle. So.
So yeah, we have one more after this. So I decided to go with the Lockindal here. This is a really cool bottling to do. Like, you know, I've done one Scotch bottling so far. We have other stocks laid down. Trying to decide on a new one for this year because it's been a while since we did one, and it like pretty cool, like Brookladdick. Then you get Lockindal on top of that, which is even more special, and it's not a bad first attempt, I think.
No.
It's just a foray into Scotch.
Pretty good
single
stuff.
malt.
I mean, it's bottled at 50 cl, so a smaller bottle,
Yeah.
63.1%
Mhm.
ABV. So, yeah.
All as it was in the cask, and here it was about 14 casks to choose from, and narrowed it down to 4, and then this was just a standout. You know, the 4 were pretty good, and it could have been any one of them. I wanted all of them, but I wasn't allowed by them. So, very special. Like it's one of my favorite whiskeys. You know, it's so easy to drink at 63.1%.
It's
you know, it's crazy to say that.
It's good to put that in one sentence.
It's like somebody, you know, got some caramelized bacon and some whiskey and some, you know, peat of whiskey and just put them together in a blender and made a smoothie out of it. It's, you know, it's really delicious. And
I don't mind having this.
No, no.
No.
I had it in a tasting in Dusseldorf on Saturday, and I was at the end of going, this is very nice.
Yeah.
I don't get to have it that often, obviously.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so you're doing the Irish whiskies and then some from Islay now?
Yeah, I've done Islay. So the whole idea is we're going to do the 5 regions one by one, and then after that, then I can just
do anything you
want. That's kind of how I want. That's how I decided I want to do it. That's how I'm going to do it. So I think we'll see definitely 1 this year.
Okay.
And then we'll maybe ramp it up to 2 next year.
Can you already tell us?
No, I don't know yet, because there was a spanner in the works that we might have another opportunity with something different. So I was looking at a space side, but maybe we go to the Highlands. We'll see.
But then you have to change your website because now it says the best Irish whiskies and some Islay.
Yeah, does it?
It does. So
I don't do the website anymore. So
you need to expand it to the rest of Scotland, I think. But,
and thanks for that. I didn't know. I haven't looked at that website in a long time. I think that'll be exciting. And then I was at Provine in Dusseldorf, and I'm there to try and sell product and meet people. I ended up probably doing a deal to buy some organic whiskey from Denmark.
Can you tell us more about that? Because I know already.
It's looking at Mosgard, which you visited with Jürgen.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we me and Jürgen kind of shared a holiday together in Denmark for a couple of days, and we visited Mosgard at that time. So, which was really interesting and fun stuff at that time.
Yeah,
really good peated whiskey.
Really great. Yeah, so
it's good to hear that you're doing something with them.
Yeah. And then I'm looking. There's Swedish whiskey coming, and there's, I'm hoping to get into Castran Cognac and Armagnac. I have the relationship kind of set up actually via a trip to Belgium. It was really great. Evo introduced me. Evo Drabs introduced me to somebody. Just cash flow constraints. If I could do everything, I would. So that's it. And I've been working on a bourbon for a while with a very well-known bourbon maker in the US. And again,
so the plan is not to be an Irish independent bottler, but
yeah, I don't say I'm an Irish independent bottler.
No, I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, you are Irish, of course. You're an independent bottler, but
yes,
you don't solely bottle in Irish.
No, and whiskey. I never intended to either. I always said from day one. That's the.
So the plan for world domination is,
if it's good and it goes in a bottle, I'll put it in a bottle. That's the bottom line. And that's what I want people to think when they see the brand, you know, and when they look at that and they go, they won't have to taste it or try it. They go, yeah, that these guys do.
Yeah. Have you got
what they say.
Any examples in the whiskey world that you would like to follow?
Yeah, well, look, I would
imitate or be or
like. Well, no, I don't want to be any of them. I want to be, but I want to be me.
Yeah,
So,
of course. Yeah.
I look like obviously you look at, you know, Cadenhead, the Daithi, Douglas Lang, like the Thompson brothers, like it's
all people that have the freedom to do whatever they want, basically.
Yeah, and you know, most of them end up at distilleries eventually. So we'll see. But I think it's you probably learn so much at a certain point. It's like, well, kind of makes sense, but we'll see about that. And it absolutely doesn't have to happen for us, that's for sure. And we'll go from there and see what we can offer. I think there's lots to offer, and you know, I want to do my own champagne as well. So
it's okay. Yeah.
We might have to change the logo from whiskey merchants to something else, but
maybe some beer too.
Willy Wonka for alcoholics.
Some chocolate.
Well, I'm working with a chocolatier.
There you go.
At the moment, and I'm trying to get him to do a liqueur with the whiskey in it.
Okay.
Not mixed into it. So that's a challenge for him. So
liqueur with the whiskey in
it. So when you bite into it, it's the liquid you're getting, and not just infused, you know. Yeah. So whiskey.
It's hard to do because the chocolate deteriorates quickly.
It is. Yeah.
With the alcohol inside.
That's exactly what he's saying. So he's like, because I'm like, can it be high ABV? And like, he's like, well, they'll probably have to eat them really quickly. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure if we do a special, you can do it. If you add lots of sugar, seemingly,
I'll tell you,
the chocolate lasts longer.
Actually, how I got to know Jürgen, because he did some chocolates with the Glenlossie, 20-year-old Glenlossie, years and years and years ago. 2013, and that's what I had on a festival with him. I immediately bought a bottle of the Glenlossie, and I fell in love with those chocolates. So there you go.
I'm having more of this.
Yeah. Have more of that. Yeah, you can.
I'm not driving.
You should be talking to Belgian chocolatiers, and Chris is also saying, "Take my money about this whiskey." So
I did, Chris. I think.
Yeah. Probably.
or somebody did.
Yeah.
It's gone. That was my bottle.
It's gone. We had the last of Jürgen's personal bottles. So there you go.
Well, yeah, it's delicious, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dangerous stuff. 63.1%.
Easy.
My mum actually
very easy drinking.
When I bought that at first, I brought a bottle of the Bill Phil Cat strength and that out to my back garden in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
It was a long night, one of those beautiful nights, and had lit the fire pit, and I was after doing a big day in the garden. I said to my mum, I said, "Do you ever drink peated whiskey, ma'am?" And she goes, she was 73, I think, or 72, and she goes, "No, you know I haven't." I was like, "Well, you're about to start." And she had a cast strength Bill Phil and a cast strength Lockendal, and she was like, "Isn't that lovely?
Isn't that lovely?"
No,
kind of the worst word to use for whiskey like this, right?
But like, you know, I was expecting her to go, "Oh God, that's terrible," or whatever. You know, she's not a whiskey drinker at all. So she took it. I think women actually have amazing palates, and
I mean, you know, I've told the story many a times, but my girlfriend couldn't find any whiskey she liked until I gave her a 60% ABV Kalila from High Spirits for 10-year-old, and she loved that. So
yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, they have more going on, I think. Yeah. So that's that one.
That's good stuff.
If I'm going too fast, I can slow down.
I don't know, guys. Are we going too fast? They can follow, I think. So
experience.
Yeah, I see some thumbs up from Tom and other people. So yeah, let's go on to the last one, the only one you haven't had yet. So the 20-year-old bourbon cask. Always like it when people who actually made the stuff or bottled the stuff are going like, "Oh, I just love this."
Yeah, because it's completely selfish.
It tells the story. I mean,
are you okay? Or
no, he's not. Jürgen's not okay. He wants more.
Yeah, because ultimately, like everything that goes, it's a completely selfish endeavor. Like everything goes into a bottle that I bottle, it's only because I like it. So I just have to hope enough other people can like it after that.
Yeah.
You know, because I think there are companies out there, and there definitely are, who just put product in bottles to sell it, and they don't care what. Like, I couldn't sit here in front of you guys, or go into a shop, or go to a trade show and try and sell something I didn't believe in. I just no way I could do that, and I'd rather sell quality and not the quantity. And if that's, you know, if that's all I ever do, if I'm doing these things in 10 years' time, going around hustling still, I'll still be doing that, and I'll be happy with that. Because
it's a question I've often asked independent bottlers is there any rode draad? How do you say it? Rode draad in English?
Thin red line.
A thin red line, something that you can, if you give a bottle of yours to somebody, that how could we recognize that it's your bottling? What is the running through all your bottlings?
there's anything running through them all.
No,
No.
is there no like?
Is there no personal preference in there in your selections?
Because some
Well, it is for each individual one, but they're all so different. I don't know how you could.
It's a discussion that we had earlier on. Is there a DNA of the bottler?
Yeah,
Is
a
there DNA of the distillery
DNA, a
already?
DNA of the independent bottler that you can see running through whatever whiskey he bottles, or even cognacs or rums or whatever.
I think there is. If it's only one person selecting, I think there is.
Maybe, but like I don't know what. Maybe I don't know what it is though, because like I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like over sherried, and I don't like astringency. So if astringency is coming in, it's done out for me.
So no tannins, no.
I don't mind a little. There's a little in the PX20. There's probably a little in there, but I've tried some famous whiskeys that are available, and like I couldn't drink them at all. Yeah, so that's something I don't like. As soon as there's any astringency, I'm like, oh no, that's not working.
I'm so sorry. I'm just now with the second sip really getting the quality of this.
This is like,
wow.
Again, look, if you want to nerd out, like this is a single cask, an actual single cask. So not one that's been rebarreled. So obviously we call them single casks because they are single casks technically, but this is the real definition of a single cask. And straight bourbon, first fill, at cask strength, because it's optimum at cask strength. It's exactly. So if you see it, I do it at cask strength, then I think that's one thing you can look for, that you should definitely just buy them, because I'm very particular.
Okay.
I haven't done a lot of cask strength. I know we've had.
So that's really
4 here tonight, but like 3 of those were 3 of those are on the last 12 months.
So that's like quality label. If it's cask strength, even within the quality label that W. O'Connell says, cask strength is even notch up.
I'm very like, I've done a lot of single casks, and not all of them are cask strength. You know, I'm bringing like we've had 2 tonight that I've reduced the ABV on, and I've done 3 other PXs that weren't cask strength as well. Did another Tamashine. So like if it's not cask strength, it's generally going to be probably down around 46 to 49, 50. That seems to be my sweet spot as well for. So it's either cask strength or it's down around that area.
Yeah. 47 and a half, 48.
That's part of my DNA maybe then as well, I suppose. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Is there any dream bottling that you'd like to do? Distillery that you'd really like to bottle someday?
Oh, I'd like to do a Glenfarclas. There's a few. I was like I've done Bushmills as well, which is nice to do. And I did a really special Bushmills, to be fair, so I was really, really happy with that too. Glenfarclas, definitely. I'd love to do a Macallan for the crack.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I know like an old Macallan.
Jürgen is already making money signs there.
yeah. Like if we ever had the money, if we could, like, even if it was just to break even, I'd do it. Yeah. Just to say I did a Macallan.
I bottled a Macallan.
Yeah. I think that would be cool.
It's a thing that
it's because it is like leaving out some of the liquid is amazing, some of it's, but I think the older stuff that IBs are doing is probably really good. Like, and versus what's coming out with 12-year-old with Macallan on it or whatever.
It's
Probably
also
not doing myself any favors here. But yeah, I think that would be cool. And then look, there's I'd love to do Bunnahabhain, maybe Darnock. Yeah, there's a few, like there's a lot.
There's a recurring joke in the tastings that we always dare independent bottlers to bottle a bad Kalila. Try and find a bad Kalila.
There are.
I was literally about to say it.
Yeah.
I've had a few, but I'm a big fan of it as well.
Yeah. It's just really hard to find because there's a lot of Kalilas about.
It is, and that goes back to my point about, I think IBs, like there are a lot of IBs out there who just bottle everything single cast strength. They're not, and I just don't think that you can do that.
No.
Well, you can clearly do it because they do it.
Yeah, but put a little work in it. I mean,
yeah, I'm not throwing stones at people. Like I get somebody, and fine if that's what you feel. Like maybe they do actually feel all their casts are amazing at cast strength. I don't know.
As we said, you are a bit of a newcomer in the whiskey world. 3 years in, 4 years in now, 2019. How are you received by your colleagues, by the rest of the whiskey world?
Don't know actually. I suppose a lot of my peers in Ireland are not in as long as I am. I might be a bit longer than most of them, with a few handfuls.
Well, what I really mean is how do you feel in the business? I mean, talking to people, how
do I feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't be lacking confidence. So you can't be like, there's nobody in the whiskey industry that lacks confidence.
No.
Like it's completely like I put my name on a bottle. Like it's like you're putting yourself out there.
It's like if you're a singer bringing out a song or whatever.
Yeah.
This is your work. This is your baby.
You're backing yourself and you're putting yourself out to the front of it.
To be judged.
Absolutely be judged, yeah. And you have to take the good with the bad. And
do you read all reviews?
Everything.
Everything?
Everything. Yeah.
Really?
Anyone who says they don't are full of shit. Like, they do.
Of course they do.
Well, I don't think you've had too many or any negative. I don't know if I found any.
I can't really imagine, but there must have been some. I mean,
no, I don't. Even a review that was average was fair. Like most people would be very happy with it. So
learn from it.
Yeah, but you have to understand you can't expect everybody to like what you're doing, and you can't get. It's like meeting people. Like everybody can't like you as a person, even if you're a nice person. It's just how it is. So it's kind of you have to understand that. And I've been around dealing with people for a long enough time to know that.
Yeah.
So I don't mind. It's water off a duck's back to me if somebody doesn't like something. It might surprise me, and that can be funny. But if somebody likes, 4 or 6 whiskeys that you give them, that's a pretty good result. Like, you don't like most people aren't drinking 4 or 6 whiskeys or 8 whiskeys at a time normally. So the chances are
Belgium we do on a Tuesday.
Yeah. So no, I think that's fine. And I've been very active in the industry too. Like I've been kind of myself and Peter Mulrine from the Blackwater Whiskey Distillery, Louise McGuan, she's a bonder in County Clare, and Brendan Carty, who's a bonder and distiller up in County Down. We started the Irish Whiskey Guild. So we put ourselves out there like on that to try and better the industry. So it's not like, it doesn't matter to me I don't care if somebody's been in the industry for 50 years or if they're pernod Ricard. I couldn't give a shit really, I suppose, because ultimately I see the industry as a consumer, and now I'm working as a consumer and somebody that produces, and I can see where we can sit in our laurels and do nothing to try and better the industry, or we can try and make it better. And I'm not going to sit back and wait for other people to do that.
It's interesting that you say that, actually, because I told you earlier I do a podcast, and we actually launched our talk with Annabelle Thomas from the Macmillan Distillery today, and I was talking to her about, of course, sustainability, because her whole vision is based on sustainability. And I asked her, why are you doing this? Is this just for yourself, or do you want to change the industry? And she said, of course, I want to change the industry. I've got a big plan, basically, to with what I'm doing, set the example and make others change their way of
think
working.
she's right. I think that's, you don't have to be a big company or big anything in life. You can get the dominoes moving.
But I think that's quite new in the whiskey world.
I guess it is, because it was dominated by big companies for so long. And like we've been planting native trees in Ireland for every case we sold, every case of 6 since we started.
Yeah, I saw that. There's about 2,000 trees you planted now. Or?
Yeah, and we'll do another, I think, 1,500 this year. And
very cool.
And then we started conversations with other distilleries to get them involved, and they like much bigger operations. And I was like, even if you just track what I do, just match what I do, don't even have to do one per case, things like that. Just put pressure on them, and the difference that would make. And like, if every industry, if there was a big business in every town or village that just did that same thing, the difference that you'd make is phenomenal. It's compounding. So it's just basic maths. And the Irish Whiskey Association members, as a result of that, I'm pretty confident that we kind of got their attention, and the guys I was talking to who were going to do it with me ended up, they're all members of the Irish Whiskey Association, and now they're doing it with the same person who's managing our planting. So that's good. I don't care if they do it with me or not. It's great that they're just doing
Start a small ripple and see.
Yeah, and we want to offer our space up for community as well. We want the community to be able to use the space as we develop it, not obviously the warehouse and that, but consumer side where we're going to put on event space. We want to make that available, and we've got a lot of yard space and parking. We want to maybe put in markets and stuff there at Christmas for them, and not with any charges or anything like that, and let people who produce locally come and sell their goods and create a nice community environment. And that's important too, to embed yourself in the community and not just be all about take.
Yeah.
If life's all about take, then it's not really fun. So,
wow, nice. I was reading in the chat, Kevin was saying it's sweet, it's round, it's nicely balanced, it's a long finish, and I love it that the Lockindal was put in between the rum and the bourbon casks. Makes the last one stand out.
Good job done.
And Jürgen already added that's exactly why we did it. So
yeah.
So, but I think I agree, because I hadn't tasted them before. I try to not taste everything before I do tastings like this, because I like to be surprised. And I was like, okay, strange to put the Lockindal before, but I completely get it now. So
fruitiness of the last one is shining after.
The complexity stands out. So it's
my favorite cast strength bottling to date now, and that's saying something. So because I've had some, I do say so myself, some pretty good ones. So it's a good bourbon cask. For me, is hard to beat. It's to distill it at its best.
It's also something that people nowadays are forgetting.
Absolutely.
The good bourbon cask, because of the fact that there are so many finishes and special casks and unique things, and
it's funny because bourbon really is only around. Bourbon casks are only really around in the industry in the 50s. Before that, everyone was using
whatever cask was used,
wines or whatever was available, ports and other wines, and that's what they were using, and just reusing them until they were. I'm sure they were pretty tired, a lot of them. I'm sure the quality levels weren't there that we have today, to be honest. And that's only a good thing. So bourbon really offered something new, and I was kind of even when I was starting, I was kind of a bit naive myself to think that, we should go back to more of those wines. I said that on our website and everything, how we're going to do it. But actually, bourbon is probably the best to operate with, and then you can kind of go from there and move around.
Creates a really nice palette to work on.
I think you're one of the only brands that I have some that actually understands that you have to keep in mind to keep your bourbon casks as much available as well.
Yeah.
I have to push the other ones to say, I need bourbon casks.
But I had to learn that though.
I maybe a little tangent, but talks about the same thing. We did a Geuze tasting last Saturday online, and Dennis, our speaker, he said we were also talking about all these new beer styles and very extreme beer styles with pastry stouts and stuff like that. And he said, we are creating a generation that doesn't know what beer tastes like.
Yeah.
With all these special influences, and maybe it's kind of the same thing. If you only know Madeira cask and tequila cask and whatever,
If you want to understand,
if you don't want
you
to
don't know the
challenge,
basics.
if you don't want
If
to
you-
challenge yourself,
if you want to understand the distillery, you have to try bourbon cask
Have to, yeah.
first.
absolutely, yeah, because nothing, it can't hide in there,
Mhm.
and that's the great thing
That's
about it.
spirit.
You
Yeah.
know, and it hides nothing. But I think it's interesting on the beer as well. Like, and people are like today, Pernod Ricard bought a majority shareholding in a peanut butter whiskey in San Diego.
Peanut butter whiskey.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that'll tell you where flavored whiskeys are now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't do a flavored Scotch or a flavored Irish whiskey or any whiskey nation that takes itself seriously. But, you know, you can't do a flavored bourbon or anything like that, but you can do flavored whiskey.
Flavored whiskey. Yeah. Sure.
So you could take whiskey from any of those countries and you could, you know, make a dog's dinner of it. And
Yeah.
but look, that's again, it's people want. It's just making. Is it a good thing? I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing, to be honest. I think the fact that you have the term whiskey attached to it is not, because it shouldn't really be whiskey.
Mhm.
You know,
Because
whiskey should be
it's
something
got
that's more-
added components. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's a spirit drink, or it's a whiskey liqueur. or
Liqueur.
something.
Yeah. Something
But,
like
yeah,
that.
it's
And
not-
I can follow that.
Yeah, but it's interesting that the big guys are all getting in on this now, and
Mhm.
you know, it's the fastest growing segment, but it's easy to go from 0 to whatever. Like, so,
Yeah.
whether you know,
Yeah. Speed is not everything.
not everything. No,
yeah.
like if I look at my first year's sales and my second year's sales, wow, that was a big percentage growth
Mhm.
because the year before I did nothing.
Nothing from one thing to something.
Nothing is
100%.
Yeah, no. So it's
Yeah.
it's kind of a bit of a, it's a gamble by these guys, but look, they don't always get it right.
Mm.
That's for sure. They throw enough money at it. Something will pay off eventually.
Guys, in the chat, if there's any more questions, now is the time, because we're finishing off the tasting in a couple minutes. So if there's any more questions, now is the time. Is there anything that you would like to add? What is in the future for you and for WD O'Connell?
Well, a few days here in Belgium, and
And of course, we need exclusives and
yeah. Everybody says that.
I'm pushing.
So yeah, a couple of days here working with Jurgen now, and we're finishing off Mac Shelfie, and I'm in Groningen Whiskey Festival for 2 days. Then something really exciting, I'm going over launching in Massachusetts. So our new distribution partner there. That's pretty cool. So I haven't been there either, to Boston, so that'll be fun. And then it's back to HQ, maybe take a week off with the kids, hang out for Easter, and
important. Yeah.
then we're going to get down to bottling schedule and single cask releases and all of these things. We have a new 5-year-old age statement single malt coming out as a core product.
And we'll see that in Belgium, of course.
Oh yes, it'll be in every market immediately. We've been on this. Okay. I've moved on from one at a time. It's just easier to just get it done and get it out there, and that's coming, which I'm excited about. You know, it offers a drinker who's not into grain or not into peated malt a single malt that has a different flavor profile,
and that's going to be like a base product. Like the Bill Phil
it'll be our entry level product, to be honest, at 5 years old, which is great, I think. And again, people go, oh, it's only 5-year-old, but like, you know, it won't just have 5-year-old in it, it'll evolve. But you know, our beg can do it, we beasties, so why can't we do it? I mean, kind of, and a lot of people who are not nerds will pay attention to that, and that's.
And in the 80s, everybody drank 5-year-olds. So.
Yeah. So,
a question from Tom: isn't it difficult as an indie bottler to create a consistent standard range of whiskey, because always independent of it? Yeah, because you're always dependent of suppliers.
Well, I don't know if like Tom, you've been drinking the Bill Phil for a while, so I'd say you can probably answer that question. I think I've been pretty consistent. The grain I've been pretty consistent with, so you can do it because I have good supply chain in terms of whiskey. But if I didn't, then I couldn't.
Yeah.
So like some of this, lot of the stock we've laid down a fair chunk of stock. Like it's still small in the big scheme of things, but compared to where we started to where we are today, we have a lot of casks. We've had some of them for quite a few years. So we have that. So we have like a pipeline of stuff that we have bought already. You know, like last year, for example, I filled 15 butts, you know, 500 liters, all different styles of whiskey. That's considerable investment. And you know, you won't see those for a while. Like that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
So
of course you need
you know,
to create.
I'm not doing so. I'm like, am I an IB? Not really, because I'm also a bonder. So in Ireland, the bonder is somebody who's buying whiskey and laying it down and maturing it in their own warehouse and for a long time, and controlling that process. So I suppose we're not really just an IB, because most IBs aren't laying down stock really. You know, there's a handful that do. I would say maybe not a handful, but there's a small minority are laying down stock. Most people are just buying casks, refill them for the shortest time possible if they have to, and bottling them. I think that's probably a fair enough assumption to say. So probably that's something that makes us a bit different as well.
Okay.
Compliment from Uncle Achille in the chat.
Yeah, and Uncle Achille is saying consistent quality is also consistency. So
thank you.
There you go. That's your answer.
You'd be my press officer.
Yeah, that's your next time somebody asks you about
I'm going to remember that. Yes, I think it's a very valid point. You know,
I think so too. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
it was a good question too, Tom. By the way, I'm not dismissing it.
Yeah. Amen. Chris says. Maybe it's time, guys, that we put the official part of the tasting to sleep. So we can go on and think more about these whiskeys that we had. Maybe finish the glasses off if you haven't already. But I have enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah, me too. Really, really good. I like the sound of my own voice.
Yeah. It's always good not to have an audience present, so you just talk to yourself.
Yeah.
No, I've really enjoyed this, the lineup, the talk, Jürgen being here, and of course the people in the chat and who are always following our tastings. I don't really need to make any promotions for the next tastings, because you all know what's coming up the next couple months for Merck. So just follow the website, follow the Facebook, etc. And of course, follow WD O'Connell.
Yeah, if you're not following, give us a follow.
There is the Friends of page.
There's a Friends of Facebook page. I'm not in charge of, by the way, but it's there.
It's fan page.
And cool. Then we'll be hoping to do some more stuff with them this year. And you know, wdoconnell.com, there's a subscription there. We might send out 4 emails a year. Like, we're not going to spam you. And then obviously at all the social medias at O'Connell Whiskey.
Yeah.
So whether it's TikTok, Twitter, I didn't even know we had TikTok till Dusseldorf. Somebody said to me.
You have TikTok.
Being spied on by the Chinese.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
so
all the same.
We're making a TikTok after this.
Are we?
No, we're not.
I'm not a social media guru, that's for sure.
We're not doing that anyway. Listen, guys, normally there's a long after tasting, but for today, that's not going to work because we're in a location and I need to clean up and stuff like that. So sorry about that. But next time, I think it's the 20 next week. Tuesday is the next online tasting. That's the first Merck Classics Club, where we'll be having 11 whiskeys in one tasting.
As you do.
But probably that'll take a little bit longer. But for now, I'll have to close this off. Thank you all very, very much for being here, and see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for your time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.